The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going for 6 straight hours. Ambassador Zethkara watched the holographic display showing their fleet positions with growing dread. Red markers indicated destroyed vessels. There were far too many red markers. "The 7th Fleet is gone," announced General Corks, his forearms trembling as he delivered the report. "The Void Devourers consumed the entire Rigel system in under 3 hours. Our weapons barely scratched them." Silence filled the great chamber. Representatives from 12 different species sat in their assigned seats, each one looking more defeated than the last. The Altarians with their blue skin had gone pale. The insectoid hive queens clicked their mandibles nervously. Even the proud stellar dragons had lowered their massive heads in despair. "How many ships have we lost total?" asked Chancellor Vexitar, her voice barely above a whisper. 2,347 capital ships, Corks replied. "That's 60% of our combined fleet strength." The Void Devourers show no signs of slowing down. Zethkara had lived for 300 years. She had seen wars, plagues, and natural disasters, but nothing compared to this. The Void Devourers had awakened from their ancient slumber 2 months ago. These creatures were older than most civilizations. They moved through space like living darkness, consuming entire planets and leaving nothing behind. "What about the experimental weapons?" asked Representative Thane from the Tech Guild. "The quantum disruptors? The reality bombs? All ineffective," Cork said sadly. "The Devourers seem to exist partially outside normal space. Our most advanced weapons pass right through them." The chamber fell silent again. Zethkara looked around at her fellow council members. These were some of the most intelligent beings in the galaxy. They had solved countless problems through cooperation and advanced technology, but now they sat helpless. "There must be something," said Queen Zixara of the Hive Worlds. "Some weapon we haven't tried. Some strategy we haven't considered." Zethkara took a deep breath. What she was about to suggest would shock everyone in the chamber, but they were out of options. "There is one possibility," she said slowly. All eyes turned to her. The Altarian ambassador stood up from her seat, her blue skin now showing stress patterns of deep purple. "We could contact the humans." The reaction was immediate. Several representatives jumped to their feet. Others made sounds of disgust or fear. General Corks dropped the data pad he was holding. "Absolutely not," shouted Chancellor Vexitar. "The humans were banned from this council for good reason." "They're dangerous," added Thane. "Unstable. They solve every problem with violence." Zethkara had expected this reaction. Everyone in the galaxy knew about humanity. They had been members of the Galactic Council once over 300 years ago. But they had been expelled after the Krillian War. The Krillians had been a plague species. They infected other worlds and turned entire populations into mindless zombies. Most council members wanted to find a cure, to save the infected beings. The humans had a different solution. They sterilized every infected world completely. They turned 17 solar systems into empty space. It had worked. The plague was stopped. But the cost horrified the other species. The humans had killed billions of beings without hesitation. When the council voted to condemn their actions, humanity's response was simple. We did what needed to be done. The council had expelled them. Humanity had accepted the decision without argument and returned to their home systems. For 3 centuries, they had remained isolated. No trade, no communication, no contact at all. "I know what they did," Zethkara said to the angry council. "I was there during the Krillian War. I saw what they were capable of. But that's exactly why we need them now." "They're monsters," Queen Zixara hissed. "They kill without mercy." "Yes," Zethkara agreed. "And right now we need monsters." She activated the holographic display again. The image showed the current position of the Void Devourers. They had consumed 12 star systems completely. Trillions of beings were dead. The creatures were moving toward the core worlds now. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the display. "In 4 days, they'll reach the Centauri hub. That's home to 50 billion beings. In a week, they'll hit the industrial sectors. In 2 weeks, they'll reach Earth's old territory." "Good," muttered Thane. "Let them deal with the humans." "You don't understand," Zethkara said. "The humans won't just defend themselves. If the Void Devourers threaten their space, humanity will come out of isolation. And when they do, they won't stop until every Devourer is dead. The question is, do we want them as allies or do we want them to handle this alone?" The chamber was quiet now. Everyone was thinking about the implications. If humanity emerged from isolation to fight the Devourers, they might not stop there. They might decide that the galaxy needed new management. "What makes you think they'll help us?" asked General Quarks, "and we expelled them. Why would they save us?" Zethkara had thought about this question for hours. She had studied human psychology during her long career. They were different from other species. Aggressive, yes, but also protective. "Because that's what humans do," she said. "They can't help themselves. When something threatens innocent life, they fight. It doesn't matter if those lives belong to friends or enemies. They'll fight anyway." "And after they win?" asked Chancellor Vexistar. "What then? Do we just hope they'll go back to isolation?" "We'll deal with that problem when we come to it," Zethkara replied. "Right now we have a choice. We can die with our principles intact, or we can ask for help from the one species that might actually be able to stop the Void Devourers." The vote took 3 hours. It was close. 7 species voted yes, 5 voted no. Zethkara was authorized to make contact with humanity. As she prepared the message, she wondered if they were making a terrible mistake. The humans had been isolated for 3 centuries. What had they been doing all that time? What new weapons had they developed? What new strategies? She finished typing the message and sent it toward Earth. It was simple and direct, the way humans preferred. "The galaxy is dying. We need your help. Will you come?" Now all they could do was wait, and hope that when humanity answered, there would still be a galaxy left to save. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, looking down at Earth. The planet below was beautiful, but it was also a fortress. Massive defense platforms orbited in perfect formation. Weapon satellites dotted the space around every human world. After 3 centuries of isolation, humanity had prepared for anything. The message from the Galactic Council had arrived 6 hours ago. Chen had read it 12 times. 4 simple sentences that changed everything. "Admiral Chen to the bridge," came the announcement over the station's communication system. She turned and walked through corridors lined with blast-resistant walls. Even their civilian stations were built for war. The bridge of Luna Station was enormous. Dozens of officers worked at stations monitoring every aspect of human space. Defense grids, patrol routes, weapon systems, and manufacturing centers, all of it designed to keep humanity safe from a hostile galaxy. "Status report," Chen ordered as she entered. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez looked up from his console. "The Council's message has been verified as authentic, Admiral. It came through the old diplomatic channels. What's the current situation with these Void Devourers?" "We've been monitoring the situation for weeks," Rodriguez replied. "Long-range sensors picked up massive energy signatures in former Council space. Entire star systems going dark. We estimated it was some kind of new weapon." "Show me." The main display activated, showing a map of the galaxy. Red zones marked areas where the Void Devourers had struck. The pattern was clear. They were moving toward the galactic core. "How long before they reach human space?" Chen asked. "At their current rate of expansion, 2 weeks," answered Commander Park from the tactical station. "They're consuming approximately 3 systems per day." Chen studied the display. The Void Devourers were unlike anything she had seen before. They seemed to exist partially outside normal spacetime. Human sensors could barely detect them. "Any word from Earth Command?" "President Martinez has called an emergency session," Rodriguez reported. "All fleet commanders are being recalled for consultation." Chen nodded. She had expected this. Humanity's leadership would need to make a decision quickly, help their former allies, or let the galaxy burn. 3 hours later, Chen sat in the secure briefing room deep inside Earth Command. The other fleet admirals were present via hologram. Admiral Thompson from the 2nd Fleet, Admiral Patel from Deep Space Command, Admiral Kim from Home Defense. All of them looked as concerned as Chen felt. President Martinez entered the room. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the space. Behind her came General Morrison, the head of Human Military Intelligence. "Ladies and gentlemen," Martinez began, "we have a situation. The Galactic Council has asked for our help." "The same council that expelled us 3 centuries ago?" asked Admiral Thompson. His anger was clear even through the hologram. "The same one," Martinez confirmed. "They're facing something called Void Devourers, entities that consume entire star systems. According to their message, they've already lost 60% of their combined fleet. General Morrison activated a holographic display. It showed detailed intelligence reports about the Void Devourers. We've been watching this situation develop. These creatures are unlike anything in our databases. They seem to feed on matter and energy directly. What do we know about their capabilities? Asked Admiral Patel. Limited information, Morrison replied. They are immune to most conventional weapons. They move faster than anything the Council species can build, and they show signs of intelligence. Chen studied the data. The Void Devourers were clearly a threat to all life in the galaxy, including human life. What's our current military status? President Martinez asked. Admiral Kim answered immediately. All human fleets are at full strength. Our shipyards have been operating at maximum capacity for decades. We have approximately 4,000 capital ships ready for immediate deployment. And our special projects? Morrison smiled grimly. Project Hellfire is complete. So is Operation Gravestone. The Omega-class weapons are ready for field testing. Chen knew about some of these projects. During their isolation, humanity had developed weapons that would terrify their former Council allies. Weapons designed to fight enemies that couldn't be reasoned with. There's something else, Morrison continued. Our deep space monitors have detected Void Devourer scouts near the edge of human territory. They're already probing our defenses. The room went silent. If the Devourers were approaching human space, isolation was no longer an option. Recommendations? President Martinez asked. Admiral Thompson spoke first. Let them burn. The Council made their choice 300 years ago. Why should we save them now? Because they're not the only ones at risk, Chen said. If these creatures consume the entire galaxy, they'll come for us eventually. Better to fight them now while we have allies. Allies? Thompson laughed bitterly. They hate us. They fear us. The moment this crisis is over, they'll try to control us again. Then we make sure they understand the new rules. Admiral Patel said quietly. We help them, but on our terms. President Martinez listened to the debate for an hour. Finally, she raised her hand for silence. I've made my decision, she said. We will respond to the Council's request, but not as their subordinates. We'll fight the Void Devourers because they threaten all life in the galaxy, including ours. She turned to Chen. Admiral, I'm putting you in command of the response fleet. Take whatever ships and weapons you need. But remember, we're not rejoining the Council. We're simply dealing with a threat to our own survival. Chen nodded. Understood, Madam President. What about rules of engagement? Martinez's expression hardened. Do whatever it takes to stop these creatures. Use any weapon, any tactic, any strategy that works. The Council expelled us for being too ruthless. Let's show them what ruthless really means. 2 hours later, Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UHS Determination. Around her, the First Fleet was assembling. 60 capital ships, each one more advanced than anything the Council species possessed. Communications, open a channel to the Galactic Council, she ordered. Channel open, Admiral. Chen looked directly into the camera. Her message would reach the Council in 18 hours. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Human Systems, she began. We received your request for assistance. The First Fleet is en route to your position. We will arrive in 4 days. She paused, thinking about the words carefully. Be advised, we will handle the Void Devourer threat using human methods. Stay out of our way. Chen out. The transmission ended. Chen turned to her tactical officer. Set course for the Kepler defense line, maximum speed. Aye, Admiral. Course set. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, Chen wondered what they would find when they arrived. The Council species would see weapons and tactics they had never imagined. They would witness the results of 3 centuries of human military development. The Void Devourers had awakened the wrong species. They were about to learn why the gods themselves feared humanity. The Kepler defense line had once been the pride of the Galactic Council. Massive space stations protected the industrial heart of the galaxy. Now it was a graveyard. Broken ships drifted between dead platforms. The Void Devourers had torn through the defenses like they were made of paper. Admiral Chen watched the destruction through the main display of her flagship. The UHS Determination led a formation of 60 human ships toward the battlefield. Behind them came supply vessels carrying weapons the galaxy had never seen. Reading. Multiple Void Devourer signatures ahead, reported Commander Torres from the tactical station. 15 large entities approximately 3 kilometers each. Dozens of smaller ones. Chen studied the sensor readings. The devourers looked like moving shadows on the display. They consumed matter and energy directly, leaving empty space behind them. Even now she could see them feeding on the wreckage of council ships. Any word from the council forces? Admiral Corks is requesting immediate conference, answered Lieutenant Park from communications. He's aboard the command ship Stellar Unity. Put him through. The main screen changed to show General Corks. The alien commander looked exhausted. His forearms moved nervously as he spoke. Admiral Chen, thank you for coming. The situation is desperate. We've lost another 300 ships since yesterday. What's your current tactical situation? We're holding position at maximum weapons range, Corks replied. Our energy weapons pass right through them. Kinetic rounds have limited effect. We can't get close enough for effective bombardment. Chen nodded. She had studied the Council's tactics during the journey. They relied on long-range precision weapons and coordinated fleet maneuvers. It was an effective strategy against normal enemies. But the Void Devourers were not normal. General, I need you to pull your ships back to a safe distance. Pull back? Admiral, we can't abandon the Kepler system. The industrial platforms are already lost, Chen interrupted. Look at your scanner readings. The Devourers are consuming the platforms as we speak. There's nothing left to save. Corks checked his displays. His expression grew even more grim. You're right, but if we retreat, they'll move toward the core systems. We're not retreating, Chen said. We're getting you out of the way so we can work. She cut the transmission and turned to her bridge crew. All ships prepare for engagement. Deploy the Hellfire weapons. Admiral, Commander Torres said quietly, the Council ships are still in the combat zone. Send them another message. Tell them they have 10 minutes to clear the area. After that, anyone still here is going to have a very bad day. The human fleet moved forward in a formation the Council species had never seen. Instead of maintaining distance, the ships accelerated toward the Void Devourers at maximum speed. Range to target 2 million kilometers and closing, Torres reported. Deploy the first wave. 6 human destroyers broke away from the main formation. They were smaller ships, but each one carried experimental weapons. As they approached the Devourers, they began to change. Their hulls split open, revealing massive energy cores. What are they doing? Came a transmission from one of the Council ships. Chen didn't answer. The 6 destroyers slammed into the nearest Void Devourer at full speed. But instead of simply ramming, they detonated their entire power cores in a coordinated explosion. The blast lit up space like a new star. When the light faded, the Void Devourer was gone. Not damaged. Gone. Completely destroyed. Impossible, whispered someone on the Council channel. Torres, status report. Target eliminated, Admiral. No human casualties. The destroyers were automated. Chen smiled grimly. Humanity had learned hard lessons during their isolation. Sometimes the only way to kill a monster was to sacrifice yourself to do it. But humans were very good at building machines to make those sacrifices. Second wave, deploy. 12 more ships broke formation. These were different. They carried something called gravestone weapons. As they approached the Devourers, they began launching projectiles that looked like small asteroids. The projectiles weren't asteroids. They were compressed matter weapons. Each one contained the mass of a small moon compressed into a space the size of a car. When they hit the Devourers, the effect was devastating. Multiple targets eliminated, Torres reported. The gravestone rounds are punching right through them. The Void Devourers finally seemed to notice the human fleet. They turned away from the dead space stations and moved toward the new threat. Their speed was incredible. They crossed 1 million kilometers in minutes. Here they come, Chen said. All ships prepare for close combat. What happened next shocked everyone watching. Instead of maintaining formation and fighting at long range, the human ships spread out and engaged the Devourers individually. They used tactics no civilized species would consider. Captain Rex Torres, commanding the destroyer UHS Relentless, flew his ship directly into a Devourer's feeding appendages. His ship's armor was designed to withstand the creature's energy drain long enough to deploy boarding pods. Boarding teams away. Torres reported over the fleet channel. "We're going inside this thing." The idea of boarding a void devourer was insane, but Torres led his Marines directly into the creature's core structure. They carried weapons designed to disrupt the creature's extra-dimensional existence. "Charges planted," Torres announced. "All teams evacuate." The explosion came from inside the devourer. It thrashed in space for several seconds, then collapsed into itself and disappeared. Meanwhile, Dr. Yuki Tanaka aboard the science vessel UHS Discovery was deploying her own weapons. Reality anchor bombs. They were devices that forced extra-dimensional entities to exist fully in normal space-time. "Anchors deployed," Tanaka reported. "The devourers are being forced into phase with our reality." Suddenly, the Council's weapons became effective. Energy beams that had passed harmlessly through the creatures now caused real damage, but the humans weren't finished. "Time for the main event," Chen announced. "Deploy the Omega weapons." The UHS Determination opened its forward cargo bay. Inside was a device the size of a small building. It looked like a giant cannon, but it wasn't designed to fire projectiles. It fired black holes. "Target the largest devourer," Chen ordered. "Fire." The weapon discharged with a sound that seemed to echo through space itself. A micro-black hole, carefully controlled and directed, struck the largest void devourer. The creature tried to consume the black hole like it would any other form of energy. But black holes don't get consumed. They consume everything else. The devourer was pulled apart by tidal forces. As it died, it released a scream that every ship's sensors picked up, a sound of rage and disbelief. "All targets eliminated," Torres reported. "The area is clear." The battle was over. In less than 2 hours, the human fleet had destroyed every void devourer in the system. The Council forces had been trying to fight them for months. General Corks's voice came over the communication channel. He sounded stunned. "Admiral Chen, your tactics. They're beyond anything we imagined. How did you know those weapons would work?" Chen looked at the empty space where the devourers had been. "We didn't. But we were willing to try things you would never consider. Sometimes the only way to kill a god is to become something worse." She turned to Torres. "Set course for the next system. According to our intelligence, there are more devourers heading for the core worlds." "Aye, Admiral." As the human fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Chen thought about what they had accomplished. The void devourers were ancient and powerful, but they had made one critical mistake. They had threatened a species that viewed impossible odds as a personal challenge. The war was far from over. But the gods had learned something important today. They had learned to fear. The war had been raging for 3 weeks. Human fleets pushed the void devourers back system by system. Each battle was won through tactics that horrified the Council species. Humans sacrificed entire ships without hesitation. They used planets as weapons. They turned star systems into traps. Admiral Chen stood in the war room aboard Luna Station, studying the galactic map. Red markers showed devourer positions. Blue markers showed human fleets. The front line had moved significantly, but the cost was becoming clear. "Status report," she ordered. General Morrison stepped forward. His face looked older than it had a month ago. "We've eliminated approximately 70% of the void devourers, but our losses are mounting. We've lost 800 ships and 6 entire worlds." Chen closed her eyes for a moment. 6 worlds. Billions of human lives sacrificed to save the galaxy. The Council species didn't understand the price humanity was paying. "What about the devourer home dimension?" "Dr. Tanaka believes she's located it," Morrison replied. "It's a pocket universe connected to our reality through dimensional rifts. The devourers use it as a staging area and breeding ground. Can we attack it? Theoretically, yes, but it would require something massive, something that could punch through the dimensional barrier and destroy the entire pocket universe." Chen knew what he was suggesting. They had discussed it in private meetings. The ultimate weapon. The one thing that could end the war completely. "Show me the projections." The map changed to show Earth's solar system. Luna, Earth's moon, was highlighted in red. "Luna has been fitted with the most powerful hyperspace drive ever built," Morrison explained. "We've also installed reality anchors throughout its structure. If we accelerate it to sufficient velocity and aim it at the dimensional rift, We turn Luna into a kinetic weapon, Chen finished. One large enough to destroy an entire dimension. The calculations check out. Luna's mass, accelerated to near light speed, would have enough energy to collapse the Devourer home dimension. Without it, the remaining creatures would die. Chen stared at the display. Luna wasn't just Earth's moon. It was humanity's first space colony. Home to 50 million people, the birthplace of human space exploration. Evacuation status? Complete, Morrison said quietly. Every civilian has been relocated to other facilities. Only volunteer crews remain to operate the drive systems. The door to the war room opened. President Martinez entered, followed by Dr. Tanaka and Admiral Thompson. They all looked grim. Admiral, Martinez said, I've received reports from the outer systems. The Devourers are adapting to our weapons. Each battle is becoming harder to win. Dr. Tanaka activated her data pad. The creatures are learning. They're developing resistance to our reality anchors. Our black hole weapons are becoming less effective. How long before our current tactics stop working? Chen asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3, Tanaka replied. After that, we'll be back to conventional weapons. And conventional weapons don't work against them. Admiral Thompson stepped forward. There's something else. Our deep space scouts have detected massive energy signatures in the Void Devourer home dimension. They're creating more of themselves. Thousands of them. The room fell silent. If the Devourers could breed faster than humanity could kill them, the war was lost. We need to make a decision, President Martinez said. Do we proceed with Operation Lunar Strike? Chen looked around the room. These were the leaders of humanity. People who had spent their lives protecting human civilization. Now they were being asked to sacrifice part of it. The volunteers know what they're signing up for? She asked. 5,000 crew members, Morrison replied. All volunteers. They understand this is a one-way mission. Including the mission commander, Morrison nodded. Admiral Rebecca Santos. She requested the assignment personally. Chen knew Santos. They had served together during the border conflicts 20 years ago. She was one of the best officers in the human fleet. And now she was volunteering to die. Alternatives? None that would work, Tanaka said. The Devourer's home dimension is too well defended. Only something as massive as Luna would have enough kinetic energy to break through. President Martinez took a deep breath. I'm authorizing Operation Lunar Strike. May God forgive us all. 2 days later, Chen watched from Earth as Luna began its final journey. The moon had been fitted with the most powerful engines humanity had ever built. Its surface was covered with weapon systems to fight off any Devourers that tried to stop it. Luna Control to Earth Command, came Admiral Santos's voice over the communication channel. All systems green. Beginning acceleration sequence. Chen opened the fleet channel. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Operation Lunar Strike is now active. Protect Luna at all costs. The human fleet formed a protective formation around the accelerating moon. Destroyers and cruisers took position to intercept any threats. Behind them came the support vessels carrying supplies and reinforcements. The Void Devourers detected the threat quickly. They emerged from hyperspace in massive numbers, trying to stop Luna before it could reach the dimensional rift. The battle that followed was the largest in the war. Multiple Devourer contacts, reported Commander Torres. Count is over 200. All ships engage, Chen ordered. Do not let them reach Luna. The space around Earth's moon became a war zone. Human ships fought desperately to protect their ultimate weapon. They used every tactic they had learned during the war. Ramming attacks, self-destruct charges, reality anchor bombs. Captain Maria Rodriguez sacrificed her entire squadron to stop a group of Devourers from reaching Luna's engines. Commander Jackson flew his ship directly into a creature's feeding appendages, buying time for Luna to pass. Luna Control to fleet, Santos reported. We're approaching the dimensional rift. Beginning final acceleration. On the main display, Chen could see Luna moving faster than any moon had ever moved. Its surface glowed from the heat of atmospheric friction as it passed through gas clouds. The engines were pushed beyond their design limits. Admiral, Santos said, her voice calm despite the situation. It's been an honor serving with you. The honor was mine, Rebecca. Give them hell. Luna struck the dimensional rift at 90% of light speed. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. Reality itself seemed to crack around the impact point. The Void Devourer home dimension collapsed in on itself. taking thousands of the creatures with it. The remaining devourers in normal space began to die immediately. Without their home dimension to sustain them, they couldn't maintain their existence. One by one, they faded away like bad dreams. All devourer contacts eliminated, Torres reported. The dimensional rift has closed. It's over. Chen sat down heavily in her command chair. They had won. The galaxy was safe. But the cost? Luna was gone. Admiral Santos was gone. 6 worlds were gone. Millions of human lives had been sacrificed. Admiral, came a transmission from the Galactic Council. It was Ambassador Zethkara. On behalf of all Council species, I want to thank you. You've saved us all. Chen looked at the empty space where Luna used to be. Don't thank us yet, Ambassador. We need to talk about what happens next. The war was over. But the galaxy had seen what humanity was capable of when pushed to the limit. They had seen humans sacrifice their own moon to save others. They had watched humans fight with weapons that violated every principle of civilized warfare. The question now was simple. What kind of galaxy would emerge from the ashes of this war? And what role would humanity play in it? Chen already knew the answer. Humanity would never again be the galaxy's subordinates. They had paid too high a price for that privilege. 6 months after the war ended, representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered at the rebuilt Kepler station. The massive space station had been constructed from the wreckage of the old defense line, using both Council and human technology. It was a symbol of cooperation, but also of the new reality. Admiral Chen walked through the station's corridors, observing the preparations for the historic meeting. Human Marines stood guard alongside Council security forces. The difference was obvious. The humans carried weapons that could punch through starship armor. Their armor was designed to fight gods. Admiral Chen, came a familiar voice. She turned to see Ambassador Zethkara approaching. The Altarian looked older than she had during the war. Everyone did. Ambassador, Chen replied. How are the preparations going? Well enough. Though I suspect today's meeting will be unlike any in galactic history. Chen nodded. The Council species had spent months debating what to offer humanity. Some wanted to restore Earth's full membership immediately. Others wanted to place restrictions on human military development. A few radical voices had suggested making humanity the galaxy's official peacekeeping force. They reached the main conference chamber. It was enormous, designed to hold representatives from hundreds of different species. But today, only the major powers were present, the ones who had survived the war. President Martinez was already seated at the human delegation's table. Beside her sat Dr. Tanaka, General Morrison, and Admiral Thompson. They wore simple uniforms, but everyone in the room understood the power they represented. Chancellor Vextar called the meeting to order. We gather today to discuss the future of galactic civilization. The Void Devourer crisis has ended, thanks to the intervention of humanity. Now we must decide how to move forward. She gestured toward the human delegation. President Martinez, the Council is prepared to offer humanity full restoration of membership, with all rights and privileges restored. Martinez stood slowly. Chen had worked with her for years, but had never seen her look so serious. Chancellor Vexistar, members of the Council, I appreciate your offer. But humanity must respectfully decline. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Several representatives stood up in surprise. This wasn't what they had expected. You decline? Asked General Korgs. But why? You've earned your place here. Because we've learned too much during our isolation, Martinez replied. We've seen what we're capable of when we're not bound by Council regulations. We've developed weapons and strategies that you find disturbing, and honestly, they should disturb you. She activated a holographic display showing footage from the war. Human ships ramming Void Devourers, Luna accelerating toward its destruction, Marines boarding extra-dimensional creatures. This is how humans fight when everything is at stake, Martinez continued. Without hesitation, without mercy, without regard for the rules of civilized warfare. We do whatever it takes to protect what we love. Dr. Tanaka stood next. During the war, we used weapons that most of you would consider immoral. We sacrificed entire worlds as strategic assets. We turned our own moon into a kinetic weapon. These aren't the actions of a Council member species. But they're the actions that saved us all, said Queen Zixara of the Hive Worlds. Without your methods, we would all be dead. Exactly, Admiral Thompson said, rising from his seat. You needed monsters to fight monsters. But you can't have it both ways. You can't want us to be civilized council members during peacetime and ruthless killers during war. Ambassador Zethkara spoke up. What are you proposing instead? President Martinez smiled for the first time during the meeting. A new arrangement. Humanity will establish embassies with all council species. We'll engage in trade and cultural exchange. We'll share some of our technology, carefully selected. But we won't submit to council authority, General Morrison added. We won't allow other species to regulate our military development or restrict our defensive capabilities. And if another crisis emerges? Asked Chancellor Vextar. Another threat to galactic civilization? We'll handle it, Chen said, standing for the first time. Just like we handled the Void Devourers, but on our terms using our methods. The chamber was quiet for several minutes. Finally, Chancellor Vextar spoke again. What you're describing sounds like independence with cooperation. That's exactly what it is, Martinez confirmed. We'll be your neighbors, not your subjects. We'll help when asked, but we won't be controlled. And if we refuse these terms? Asked Thane from the Tech Guild. Chen's expression hardened. Then you refuse them. But remember what you learned during the war. When something threatens all life in the galaxy, there's only one species willing to pay any price to stop it. You can have us as allies, or you can face the next crisis alone. The debate that followed lasted 6 hours. Some council members were angry. Others were relieved. A few were terrified. But in the end, they all understood the reality of the situation. Humanity had saved the galaxy, but they had done it by becoming something the galaxy feared. There was no going back to the old relationship. The final agreement was unlike any in galactic history. Humanity would remain independent but allied. They would share certain technologies and provide mutual defense when requested, but they would never again submit to external authority. As the meeting concluded, Ambassador Zethkara approached Chen privately. I have to ask, she said quietly. Do you think we made the right choice? During the war, I mean. Calling on humanity? Chen looked out the station's viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, human fleets were patrolling the galaxy's borders, ready to fight anything that threatened innocent life. I think you made the only choice, she replied. The Void Devourers would have killed everyone if left unchecked. Sometimes you need monsters to fight monsters. And now you have to live with the consequences. You've seen what we're capable of. You know we'll do anything to protect what we consider important. The question is, can you sleep at night knowing that? Zethkara was quiet for a long moment. I think I can. Because I also know that if something like the Devourers ever returns, you'll be there to stop it. Chen nodded. We will. But next time remember the price. Freedom isn't free, safety isn't guaranteed, and sometimes the monsters guarding your civilization are more frightening than the ones they're protecting you from. As Chen left the station, she thought about the future. Humanity would continue to develop new weapons, new strategies, new ways to fight impossible enemies. They would remain apart from the galaxy's politics but ready to defend it when necessary. The council species would sleep safely, knowing that somewhere in the darkness humans were standing watch, but they would also have nightmares about what humanity might become if they were ever threatened again. It was an imperfect arrangement, but it was honest. The galaxy had learned that sometimes you need devils to fight demons, and humanity had learned that being the galaxy's weapon of last resort came with a terrible responsibility. The war was over. The Void Devourers were dead, but the universe was vast and full of unknown threats. When they emerged, the galaxy would call on humanity again, and humanity would answer, not because they had to, but because that's who they were, the species that strikes fear into the gods.